Welcome, Wastelanders, or should I say, ahoy. For this episode, we watched our first submarine movie. It's a genre that might be a perfect microcosm in many ways for Fallout. Traveling underwater provides ample opportunity for subterfuge and sneak attacks, and that opens the door to paranoia, and that is like the bread and butter of a Cold War, of the real Cold War that we had, and the never-ending alternative reality Cold War that became very hot in Fallout's 2077, where I guess it did end. Pavarotti or Paganini? We're going to try and tell this one right, as we talk about The Hunt for Red October.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Pod Never Changes, the Fallout Movies podcast, where we look for the most Fallout movie of all time. We do that by running through the movie and trying to pick out all of the little Fallout details in it, scoring it on a great system, and at the end of this process, we'll hopefully rank them all and work out which one's the most Fallout. I'm your host, LJ, and I'm here with none other than Captain Admiral Ricky. Hello.
Hello. There's one in between that, I guess. Commander. That's you this week, and I'm either over your head, I'm up the ladder, or I'm your easily shot captain. Hello. How are you? I'm
good. Yeah. Any defections in order, or what are you planning on doing?
I'm worried about a mutiny, but.
So yeah, this week we've got The Hunt for Red October. What we'll be running through is a little bit of Fallout history, our Fallout history, what we think of the games. I'll have a little question for you this week. Sometimes it's tied into the movie, sometimes it's not. And then we'll dip into a little bit of the information about the film, who directed, some trivia and bits. You'll run us through the great rating system.
Yes.
Which is our very special rating system, a la the special system in Fallout. But it's not special, it's great. And
it is great.
It is, yeah. And then just run through the film, this very thick plot that we have this week, and just tease out all of the Fallout bits, all of the things that like the video game series, whether it's visual references or plot points, items in the game, that kind of thing.
Partial spoiler this for this movie, if you've not seen it. It is plot heavy, but is it Fallout heavy? Not.
Yes.
We'll figure that out.
Yeah. What were your expectations with The Hunt for Red October?
So my expectations of this movie, I had seen it, so I remember it being. I expected a bit more paranoia and Cold War threat. I think I hadn't seen it for a long time, so. It was one of these kind of movies I would watch with like my parents when I was a teen. And I was like, I don't want to watch this. And then I watched it, I'm like, it's actually pretty fun.
I'm sure it'd been on for me at some point, but I've never sat down and watched it through.
Yeah. So I was expecting tense, and I think maybe in my head it was also merged with Crimson Tide, another submarine movie about nuclear capabilities, but that was more about, I think, Gene Hackman and Denzel Washington butting heads on their own ship. I don't know. But yeah, I was expecting more of that, more mutiny and stuff. But I wasn't, from a Fallout perspective, don't know. I wasn't sure. What about you?
I was definitely thinking pre-war, Cuban Missile Crisis type Cold War stuff. But yeah, it's one of those movies I'd heard of. The name kind of it was floating around. I didn't realize until you said it last episode when we kind of introduced the film that it's a what is it? Jack Ryan. I was about to say
Jack Ryan. Yeah.
It's a Jack Ryan movie, and I didn't know that at all. And then I kind of got onto the fact that there's a bunch of other
Jack Ryan movies
before the more recent iterations of them.
American James Bond, right? He's loads of different actors, lots of different movies, but then also let's call it content that is not of the book and stuff. So yeah, Jack Ryan. Do you recall who else has portrayed Jack Ryan? Not to be mistaken with Jack Reacher.
Do you know what? If you hadn't said that, I might have said Tom Cruise.
You said Tom Cruise, and then who's the big guy?
Most recently, it was what's his name from The Office, US Office, Krasinski. In a TV series, I think.
Ben Affleck? I'd say Ben Stiller. Ben Affleck. Gosh darn, Han Solo.
Harrison Ford. Yes, which kind of linked into some trivia about the movie as well. That and he again, like, I think this goes to not knowing what was and wasn't Jack Ryan. Is that Patriot Games, right? That's the Harrison Ford one,
and Clear and Present Danger. Yeah.
So it's like these movies, the titles like that, I know them. They're very like kind
of. But you don't. There's no mention of Jack Ryan. It's not again. It's like a James Bond movie where it's James Bond or 007.
Maybe to Americans, I don't know. Like, the possibly prior to maybe Daniel Craig era Bond films, maybe people did just like know the name and didn't. But I can't imagine. To me, Bond films are very clearly associated with James Bond, whereas Jack Ryan, I didn't realize it spanned all of these actually quite well known movies. But definitely like the sort of Cold War element was what I was expecting, which we definitely, we get. To what degree it's fallout is to be determined.
You got a question for me?
Yeah, and this week it does link in to the movie. One of the things that popped up as I was sort of researching Fallout submarine appearances was just how underutilized water is in Fallout as a sort of location, exploration, etc. So the question for you is, if you were, directing the next Fallout game, and maybe me as a producer or someone has given you the direction of like, hey, can you add some water sections in this game? How would you implement, an increased, usage of water locations to kind of fit in with Fallout gameplay loops?
So there we are. We're in pre-production, and then somebody says, "Look, water is trending online."
Yeah, it's trending on TikTok. You got to get the oceans in.
You know what? I'm thinking of a movie which I think is on our list, and it's a bit more post-apocalyptic. I'm thinking of.
Don't say Waterworld.
I was going to say Waterworld. But I'm trying to think, because it's strange, because this is Cold War, right?
Yeah. And
I'll talk about this briefly later, but it's not particularly a Fallout kind of Cold War kind of vibe to it. So it kind of feels very real. So whenever I'm thinking about this and submarines or water locations, I'm very much grounded in reality, and it is difficult to meet it halfway to Fallout. This also, if I'm going to skip ahead, I've got two. They're both pretty weak mods, but I'll just tell you one of them. One of them was going to be, could you use the mini sub that they talk about in this to basically go to fast travel to missions, which are just submarine missions, which are communists on a sub. Okay. That was kind of what I was thinking of for my mod. And so I guess it would be the same for this, of if it's so that's more of a mod than a proper world or whatever design and ideas here. But my thought would just be there is the one communist submarine I think that I know of in Fallout 4, I think. Yeah. And then you have to go and clear it of ghouls or whatever. But I'm getting the feeling of like there could be communists, functional communists on submarines, and it's a case of you go and meet a commander or an admiral or something, and he's asking you to go and do X, Y, and Z, and it's just one of those daily missions that show up or whatever. Or I'm sure you said there was a name for those, where it's another mission recurring. a Radiant maybe.
quests?
Yeah, maybe like a Radiant quest. And it's just like, yeah, great. You know, like it's got to clear another settlement for Preston Garvey. It's just like,
you got to clear another coral reef for Preston Garvey.
That's it. Yeah, I was thinking like maybe you can't build a settlement in it. And maybe the idea is to, some of the missions, it's a stealth mission or whatever. And maybe some of them are, you've got to blow up the reactor. So you've got to get to the reactor, sabotage, and then you've got 90 seconds to escape, that type of thing. Maybe, I don't know. But that's a kind of as far as I got. What about yourself? What are you thinking?
I actually had a thought a while ago about starting a Fallout game in a submarine. That there is a vault-like submarine that's been hovering around, you know, since before the war, and much like a vault has its own, like, you know, ecosystem and vault dwellers equivalent.
You could do underwater vault, so it is underwater rather than underground, and it detaches like an escape.
Yeah,
that'd be fun.
So yeah, I would just sort of implement it as a starting point in the game. But I think generally, I do think it's the water is underutilized. I guess maybe because it's irradiated, but
it's also underexplored in as much as when you're like, okay, let's move to Appalachia. It's like, what new creatures do we have there, and what can we mutate? I guess you're then opening up the underwater to be like mutant shark time. Right?
Yeah,
or
exactly.
You know what I mean? Like how there's like in Fallout 76, there's like a Wendigo, and you kind of have this kind of mutants that they call kind of cryptids, right? Because they're kind of just mutant versions of something. You're then reaching like there's a Leviathan or something. You know what I mean? Like you kind of start into that world of like, oh, what can we call this? Yeah. This is the so and so, whatever. This is whatever, you know. And so you kind of have fun. I think a new world of if you're at sea. And you have settlements maybe at sea or floating. Because also, like, let's be like, if there was an apocalypse and it was a zombie apocalypse, the one in my head is always like, get on a boat. They can never swim, right? So it's like that thing of like, great, that's where you go. And I'm wondering how many people are thinking that in the apocalypse and are thinking.
Yeah, I think generally just utilizing the water more in many different ways. You know, underwater. I'm trying to think the swimming in Fallout. Can you dive underneath the water?
You can go under in some of them, yeah.
You can, yeah.
But I don't know if there's breathing, but I think maybe get a perk early on where it's like you can breathe underwater, so it's not an issue.
Yeah, I'm thinking there is a there's some sort of device. I think in Fallout 4
there's a rebreather.
Yes, that's it. Yeah,
that's
it. So I think they started to do it a little bit more there, but I think from a gameplay point of view, I just tended never to actually even try exploring the water. And I think it's just because I tend to play relatively realistic. So I'm like kind of role playing as someone who's in the wasteland. I'm just like, if I was, I would have no incentive to go into the water. Like, no.
Can you swim? Can I ask? Sorry, can you swim, LJ?
Yeah, not
you
not
can. I thought you were going to say like, I can't swim. I can't go in water. You're playing it too real.
Yeah. No, it just seems like, I think because I always associated water very early on in the games of like, you know, you just even walk into a puddle and suddenly your rads are going up.
Yeah.
So I just never really associated, going into the water.
Did you ever get to that island with I think it's Fallout 4. There's an island that you have to swim to, or
is it Deathclaw Island? Is it?
Not Deathclaw Island. I think there's a Mirelurk Queen. And then you can build a settlement.
I'm pretty sure.
That's one of my favorite to clear out, and then it's just like, I've got an island to myself. I'm just going to build a settlement. That's one of my favorite places to go, I think. But you have to swim there, I think.
There we go. Yeah. But yeah, I think just generally having underwater locations to explore, maybe an underwater vault or something, sunken, submarines. And then, maybe even on the surface, like you were saying, some kind of water world type location settlements. I just think they should just utilize it more. I think it would be a fun way of just adding some exploration to the game.
It's a good place to add like American fascists, because there's a frigate, and it's now, they're now like 200-year-old ghouls on there, but they're like, they've still got military, and they're still like, we're regimented, we're doing everything correctly, and we're going to kill you or whatever, that kind of thing. That's a good kind of opportunity for that, I think. Tell me about the movie.
Okay, so we've got The Hunt for Red October, made in 1990.
Can I just jump in while you're saying The Hunt for the Red October? Or is it The Hunt for Red October? Either way. I appreciated in your intro, you said Pod Never Changes, the Fallout Movies podcast. I always say a Fallout Movies podcast.
Oh.
Be like because with the number
that's one node away from saying the official Fallout.
That's true. Podcast. We could say the unofficial movies fan podcast or whatever for middleweight fans. That's kind of this
exactly.
But I appreciate that. Sorry, The Hunt for the Red October.
Yeah, the hunt. Right, now you've thrown me off. Now, is it The Hunt for Red October, or is it The Hunt for the Red October?
I think it's
the hunt for Red. Yeah, The Hunt for Red October. Okay, cool. We're just on the title. Made it or released in 1990. Sort of action thriller, kind of political thriller. Directed by John McTiernan, who has a small filmography, but is kind of stacked with some premium action movies. Directed Die Hard and I think Die Hard with a Vengeance, Predator. And Last Action Hero.
Biggies.
So
all American, man. Great.
Not to delve too much into what I think of the film, but I think clearly, he had a I don't know if he's still around. Maybe I'm prematurely killing him off. Let me have a look. Because I was just thinking he's got. He's still around. There's definitely within the movie a craft that he's got and that he's sort of perfected of really chiseling out an action movie. The pacing of it, the kind of layers of it. He's clearly makes thoughtful action movies. Even the way Predator is paced and kind of the narrative plays out, the way Die Hard is I think, it's obviously cited, but I think it is just legitimately such a good action movie.
This is a movie that almost has a lot of action.
Yeah.
Almost has a lot of action.
This is not.
It works quite well in ways, I think, in terms of
exactly. I think it's slightly different in that it's not an action movie in the same sense the other ones are. It's more like kind of intrigue, more of a thriller, I think, than an action movie. I want to rewatch Last Action Hero. Actually, I've not watched it since I was a child, basically. But that's John McTiernan. And again, there's enough said about the director, but there's the cast is just stacked. It's starring Sean Connery and Alec Baldwin, but we've got so many other people in there. You got Sam Neill, James Earl Jones, Tim Curry, Stellan Skarsgård. There's other people in there as well that you'll recognize. It's a stacked cast. Anyone
there's a lot of
that I've not mentioned,
80s and 90s that guys. I've referenced him in my notes, but it does have 80s and 90s pedo dad figure. Is it Jeffrey Jones?
I don't know.
He was. I'm
not clued up on my 80s pedo dad.
He was the dad in the redheaded dad in Beetlejuice.
Okay.
You know that guy? Oh, that guy. Yeah, he's one of them, and it's just whatever happened to him? And it's I looked it up.
No. Okay, right. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah,
excellent.
Yeah.
I mean, with this big of a cast, someone's bound to be.
Oh yeah.
All right, so we've got a budget of $30 million, which is pretty substantial. I mean, it's 1990, so it's not the most expensive movie of the time, but it's got a decent budget. What do you think it did at the box office?
Oh, it's got to have made money. What did you say was the budget was 60?
30.
30. I reckon it made 60. No. It broke 100 mil.
Double it.
200 mil?
Yeah, I was surprised. I mean, I was surprised, but then when I actually thought about it, I was like, yeah, I can kind of, because there is, we kind of live in an era now of like, the sort of Marvelization of the blockbuster, and generally films that make a lot of money are of a certain type. But that's something that I appreciate pre sort of mid 90s, late 90s. The films that were, big hits, they were quite diverse, and a lot of the times the action movies that were up there were quite, now I look back at them and think, oh, this is kind of not mundane, but like not sensational. And this isn't sensational. It's actually quite thoughtful relatively in terms of like the way it's put together.
There's a great story about making movies like this. Oh gosh, who was Ridley Scott's brother that made movies?
Oh, I don't know.
Oh gosh,
Tony
Scott. Yeah, he made one of these kind of military naval, maybe it was a Top Gun or something like that, one of the big action movies like that. And he asked the military to, whoever it was, the Navy, there was a frigate, it took off and it had to turn, and they kind of fluffed their shot. And he said, could you do it again? And they're like, no. So, but then he went there and just like gave the captain a check and said, can you do it again? And like, yep, no problem. So it's one of these things of movies like this where you have a lot of activity on like active naval vessels, often these types of things.
Yeah.
That there's a lot of effort and work required for just what we take for granted nowadays as, well, we'll just key it in later. Right, there's a lot of effort, and that to me is sometimes quite impressive.
Yeah, no, it's a good point. I think there's that thing of when you have to, there was that point in time where doing stuff practically, or like getting the Navy to do something to help you with something, was cheaper than trying to recreate it in some way. Albeit in this, the filming of this, they built a lot of the sets. Because it was just impractical to film on actual submarines. But then you get to a point where it's then easier to kind of just recreate it in post or in CGI, etc., via CGI. So then there's that less kind of thought put into the execution at that point. You can kind of just redo something, or I mean you get like this kind of is referenced with regards to Marvel, is that in earlier Marvel movies, the characters would either keep their masks on or they would physically take them off in some way. You get to a point in later Marvel movies where they're literally just like, they've now like got nanotech or something to kind of explain it away.
Man. I hate the introduction of nanotech, because it was just like the laziest way of being able to go, we've got everything, we can do anything, doesn't matter. Yeah,
exactly. And so it took away that impact of the characters were just like going mask on, mask off, mask on, mask off. And like, it's, but from what I've heard, there's entire scenes where like they hadn't even really decided whether a character was even going to be there in the scene at the time. They maybe just add them in later, or we're going to just remove this character's mask halfway through this scene because we need to show the actor for a bit.
There's the famous Infinity War trailer, right? With with the Hulk.
Hulk,
and it's like he's not even in that movie. they said they created a trailer, he's in it, and then later on they're like, nah, we thought we probably don't need him.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's wild. So like at this era, like you're having to make sort of pre-production matters a lot, and planning matters, and you kind of have to execute well, or it doesn't come off. So smashed it at the box office. Critically, what are you thinking? Rotten Tomatoes, critics, audience?
I think the audience likes it. I think the critics were mid on it. So I'm going to go audience 70, critics 60.
No, that in fact, the critics and audience are in lockstep exactly to the point. 88% on both. Yeah, so well regarded. It's a 7.5 on IMDb and a 3.8 on Letterboxd. Mentioned a couple of things on the sort of behind the scenes, practical sets. Just on the casting, Kevin Costner and Harrison Ford were approached to play Jack Ryan first before they landed on Alec Baldwin. which was weird.
Harrison Ford would return. Obviously, he was just
yeah. I think Kevin Costner was turned it down because he was starring and directing Dance with the Wolves, which won the Oscar, I think, didn't it?
Dances with Wolves. Yeah.
It's one of those Oscar winners I've never seen. So he was off doing that. But they landed on Alec Baldwin in the end, and it's like it's weird seeing him in this kind of role actually, because he's so like since then he's just become this kind of not side character, but he'd kind of be supporting other people. I don't really see him as I never perceived him growing up as a lead. Maybe in TV, obviously.
I think you and I caught him on a downswing, because I think it's like this, and it's what Glenn Ross. I think those are like the big ones. Then I think he started being pickier, and then I think maybe he's in a position where he's not able to pick as many movies.
Definitely now.
But I think a lot of people probably know him from like 30 Rock, where they're like, ha, he's delightful. But then there's a lot of people that know him from that guy who left a voicemail for his daughter, calling her a fat pig or something like that. So like I think he's.
So you better be ready Friday the 20th to meet with me. So I'm going to let you know just how I feel about what a rude little pig you really are. You are a rude, thoughtless little pig.
Had a coloured career, I think.
Yeah. Well, and then obviously what happened more recently.
And then being responsible or not, I can't remember the outcome for the death of a director and other things. Have you seen that movie, by the way, Rust? Is it Rust?
I haven't. No. Yeah, it's a Western, isn't it, I think.
It's mixed. It's mixed. There's moments that I quite like and I think are pretty good, and so like I feel like they were doing a good job. But then there's also a lot of mumbling, but they're mumbling and trying to be like being clever with talking.
Yeah,
and it's just like, but if I have to watch it with subtitles to get the clever line from this mumbly dude,
mumbling seems to be a modern day one.
Mumblecore, that was the name.
Mumble rap as well.
It's a mumble rapper thing.
Yeah. What else? So Harrison Ford was approached. He obviously later ends up playing Jack Ryan anyway. There was something else that kind of there was a little tidbit about Sean Connery that he almost turned down the film because he found the setup implausible, but the reason is that he didn't get the first page of the script, and the first page kind of like sets up when the film is set, and that kind of gives context and the plausibility to it. So he was just like, this doesn't make any sense. And almost bowed out, which feels very Sean Connery. Cool. Yeah, that's a little bit about The Hunt for Red October.
So we're gonna talk about this movie, and but to do that, we're also going to rate the movie so we can understand quite how Fallout this movie is, and we do that using our GRADE system, right? So the GRADE system is kind of like a special, right? Like in Fallout, you have attributes and they have different scores. So the GRADE, we're going to go through it. It is GREAT. It is G for genre, R for the random specifics, E for environment, A for aesthetic, and T for tribes. So genre, it's the many different or referenced Fallout plots, genres, plot points, quests, and stuff like that. So a Western would be fitting into this. Saving your family would be genre as well. The random specifics, those are like the super specific Fallout things that are like gameplay mechanisms, gameplay perks, dialogue, things that are very kind of Fallout, but also that don't fit into the rest of the GRADE system.
Yeah, very specific nuggets, right?
Yeah, into the what would otherwise be the GEAT system, I guess. So environment, it's world building lore as well as locations. So Wasteland is a good one. Apocalypse is a good one as well. Environment, right? Very simple there. Aesthetic, that's the inventory items, clothing, sounds, gore, humor, the look and the sound of Fallout. So not necessarily things like plots, but the things that you come and you see and you observe and that type of thing. So It could be country music, it could be pre-war food, but also it could be explosive gore, the fun kind of aesthetic things of Fallout. And T is then tribes. It is the groups and individuals that populate the movie. So it could be that there's a distinct group that is very Fallout. So a bunch of, are they called Raiders? Are they called Reavers? But are they not those? But they are basically those guys without the name. Do we have, devious government bodies? Do we have glad handing and stuff behind the scenes? Is there a specific aesthetic robot, or is there a dog companion? Tribes, people, and the groups and individuals, rather, that make up the Fallout world, shall I say.
Yeah.
So again, that's GREAT, that genre, random specifics, environment, aesthetic, and tribes. So what we do is we give each of these, whenever we talk about the movie and we see something that fits into genre or fits into the random specifics, we give it a little +1, we give it a point, and we can then score it up to a maximum of 6 of each of these attributes. So you can get a maximum of 6 for genre, a maximum of 6 for the random specifics, a maximum of 6 for environment, and so on, which means we can score a maximum of 30 for the entire movie. This also, like in Fallout, we also do debuffs. So what that means is, that if there's something that's very, very anti-Fallout, something that's not very Fallout, we would then give it a debuff of like a -1 for each particular debuff. So it can score a maximum of 30, and then we can start taking points off as well. An example of this might be that whenever we talk about Mad Max 2, so Road Warrior, as it's also known, there's lots of Fallout things in that movie, but there's also big, long car chases, and there's no functional cars really in Fallout, so we had to give it a -1 debuff for that as well.
And it's
so those
usually
are the kind of things.
It's usually contextual, right? Like it's not, if a movie's set in, I don't know, pre-war Fallout times, okay, we're not going to give it a debuff for not featuring a wasteland.
That's it. And we're not going to give it a debuff in pre-war or pre-apocalypse if they've got cars there, because, well, that's fine. The context is different there.
Yeah.
So that's it. That's great.
So we'll run through the movie and find all of the 1,000,001 Fallout bits in the movie.
Yes, the 1,000,001. Stop me when you hear one. The Hunt for Red October. So we open with some on-screen text, and it gives us a bit of context. It's 1984. Before Gorbachev came to power, a Soviet sub surfaced just outside Grand Banks. There's a map on the screen, and it shows us that this is around Nova Scotia. That's the east coast of Canada. Apparently, it suffered a radiation leak problem or something like that. Unconfirmed reports indicate that some of the crew were rescued, but according to repeated statements by both Soviet and American governments, nothing of what you are about to see ever happened. So we have a time and a place and a world, this world. I'm going straight in, I think, with the Great System, in as much as it's a -1 debuff from me.
This is the first movie to start off on -1.
Because it's specifically, it's so rigidly placed in the reality in the real world that you kind of lose some of the what if and the fantasy and the silliness maybe, or everything that comes with Fallout. It's like in Fargo, right? Whether it's the TV show or the movie, it all starts with like, this took place in this year. Everything in this you'll see is true. The names were changed to protect the innocent. Everything else is told the same, and none of it happened. None of it's real, but it does that to put it in a place which is meant to be your world, the world that you're living in. This crime could happen to your neighbor, right? This things could happen to people you know. That's kind of the point of it, and it did it here. So it kind of took me out of the fantasy of Fallout immediately with that. This happened, but it didn't happen. Like, it kind of took me out.
I'll note it down. I feel, yeah, we'll debate that at the end.
Okay. Any context, real quick, on 1984? So 1989. No, sorry, 1991 is when the USSR collapsed. So this is just a few years before that, I guess. So it's just context there of where the height of the USSR, being tense, let's say, and paranoid.
I think there was some discussion in the production of the movie, because I think that the dominoes started to fall during the production of the movie. I guess, obviously the final fall might have happened later, but first pieces started to fall, and I think there was the feeling during production, is this going to be seen as relevant still? Or will people buy into it if the Soviet Union is collapsing?
Okay, so we see Sean Connery, and we see his eyes, and they're looking at some icy water and some snowy mountains in Russia. He mumbles something in Russian to Sam Neill. Sean Connery is Marco Ramius, and Sam Neill is Captain Borodin. We get some titles. We'll skip through those, not particularly interesting. And then we end up with Alec Baldwin, who is packing. He is Jack
packing,
Ryan. He's packing. I mean, did you not see that sweater with the high neck? He looked great. So he's packing his briefcase, suitcase, whatever. He is Jack Ryan. I got in my notes. Yes, that Jack Ryan, not to be confused with Jack Reacher. We've already discussed that. He's leaving his wife and child for a trip, not permanently. It's very wholesome. He's talking with his daughter, very happy, very happy. He's then on a flight, and we learn that he's a very nervous flyer. He touches down, and the CIA picks him up and takes him to the offices. He works for the CIA as an analyst. We meet James Earl Jones, who is Admiral Greer. Ryan is there to show Greer intel on Red October, a secret, technologically advanced Russian submarine. They are looking at photos of the sub, and they notice doors. The doors come up a lot. They're a development, and that's what's worrying Ryan enough to get on a flight to see Greer. What are we thinking so far? Any Red Scare? Any concerns?
So I think from a Fallout perspective, there were a few things I think in the setup.
There was.
I think from a plot sort of genre point of view. So, you get the mention of a nuclear incident on the submarine. As the first point. There was an aesthetic one that I had, which kind of runs as a motif throughout the film, which is black screen with green text. All of the intertitles are looking like that.
That was still kind of interesting in the 90s, where it will come up and go dee, 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 dee. It's like, oh, this means it's official. It's being printed.
There's a few little visuals like that in the movie. There was the nuclear submarine itself as a location. Now we don't see it yet, but it's mentioned.
We'll get there pretty quick. There.
And then the communist threat being mentioned. So obviously in Fallout, the communist threat is the Chinese. Sorry, did I say Fallout? In Fallout, it's the Chinese. In the real world, obviously it's Soviet Union. That would have still happened in the Fallout universe. Fallout universe splits off in the 60s or so. So it's very much the case, obviously, that the war that we get is 100 years after that, by which time China is the major threat, which kind of lines up with the way in which politics seems to be heading in reality. Not saying that the China actually necessarily a threat, but they're perceived that way by the West. And then the Soviet, but regardless, I guess, whether it's the Soviets or the Chinese, it's a communist threat that's lurking in the background. So I think that's a very Fallout theme.
Okay, so we're now on the USS Dallas. It's a US submarine, and it's from roughly the same area that Ramius and Red October were just earlier. We see a seasoned officer. This is Seaman Jones, and a young, inexperienced guy talking about sonar and blah, blah, blah. I made a note about there's some very annoying 90s personality talk where a guy comes in. It's very Tarantino. And it's like, hey, tell him about your crazy theory. And he's just like talking about how he records in Wales and people talk to each other. And I was like, man, I'm glad that's gone.
Yeah,
that's we don't get that
all
anymore.
Of these, like, you'd get it in Jurassic Park and stuff like that. Just all there, like those kind of, especially characters that are like maybe scientists or like some sort of technical geek. they have to have some kind of weird quirk, kind of, to their character.
Seaman Jones here, he's into music in a big way. He figures this whole boat is basically just his own personal, private stereo set. So he gets this piece of Pavarotti.
It was Paganini.
Whatever.
I mean, they are sort of showing and not telling their personality, at least, a little bit. Anyway, we get that. We don't really learn anything other than Seaman Jones is a sonar guy, right? That's all we're kind of learning here. We now see Red October, where the crew are rushing around and busy while Ramius is slowly walking through the sub. There's some Russian chatting. He seems a bit bothered by one guy, Ramius does, and it's a guy who's sitting in a room with him. He's reading a Bible aloud in Russian, this guy. The camera pushes in. I kind of like this. He's pushing in as he's reading in Russian. Then he hits the word Armageddon.
Yeah.
And as he then zooms out, he then switches to English. I kind of like that as a little mechanism.
I actually much prefer this than bad Russian accents. It's just...
Most people don't have an accent unless they're talking to an American, if they're Russian. So when they're talking to each other, Sean Connery just sounds like Sean Connery.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I didn't want to hear Sean Connery's kind of thick, distinctive Scottish accent than doing a Russian accent.
You don't watch a Sean Connery movie for accents.
No,
that's
no.
But I kind of like that. It was kind of fun. The guy that is talking to Ramius, he's asking him about, he's very KGB kind of coded here, this guy. He's asking about why things are underlined in his Bible. Ramius speaks to a guy. The guy is the political officer. I believe he's called Political Officer Putin. They both have launch keys, and they use them to open a safe to retrieve the orders for their submarine. They are to rendezvous with Commander Tupolev and test the Caterpillar drive. We're told that, I'm going to pronounce his name differently every time, Tupolev is a former student of Ramius's. There's a discussion of their orders, and then Ramius very abruptly snaps the neck of the political officer and then burns the orders. Ramius is kind of going off script here. What are we thinking now? Of like, are we thinking sabotage? Plot? Anything relevant so far?
I mean, it surprised me because this is, I guess, the downside of switching away from the Russian is that I was kind of just perceiving him as like a regular Sean Connery character, I guess, as opposed to a Russian, and therefore, in my head, I'm like, okay, this is the main good guy, and he's just killed this dude.
Of all the people to kill on the ship, on the submarine, I guess the USSR political officer, who I think his job is, it's like you've got one guy who's the mission, which is, I guess, Sean Connery's Ramius, and then the political officer is the Soviet mission. So it's like they're both working together. So it's like, are you accomplishing this mission in line with our greater mission? So he's there to like do that, and to like he was asking about the lines of like, I just want to make sure you're not gonna, I don't know, defect or anything like that. They're super paranoid, which I kind of thought was kind of fun and funny, and they got rid of him real quick.
No, for sure. Was there any Fallout tidbits you hear?
I got nothing from this so far.
So I had one that is very much in the background, but again, it pops up throughout the film, but it's very distinctive at the beginning. It's to do with sound. And it's all of the sounds aboard the submarine. You've got, just the general sort of clanging of the metal, sonar, printers. They're all these very mechanical sounds that I've heard in Fallout. Each of them, that sort of clanking printer sound. So if I closed my eyes, I could hear myself being on Rivet City. In Rivet City, I could hear myself being in like a one of those sort of metal like basement locations, like in a factory or something like that, or in one of the offices. So so a lot of the sounds here go under aesthetics.
We don't get many sound aesthetics. That's good. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Well, I hope.
It was in that scene where I think is it when he's reading from the Bible that there's the "I am become death" quote.
Yes.
That then?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So in my head, when
they're going back and forth with quotes, right? They're reading from the Bible, and they say, "What about this? What about this?"
Yeah. I had that noted down just because there's a few different reasons. One is it reminded me of your dad in Fallout 3, not your in real life dad.
What do you know about my dad?
Liam Neeson.
Yes.
He quotes the Book of Revelation, referring to "I am Alpha and Omega." But there's "I am become death" is also specifically referenced in Fallout 76. It's one of the main quests where you learn how to launch the nukes. The "I'm become death" kind of gave me 2 points of reminder. It was just the biblical quotes in Fallout 3, and then that specific quest in Fallout 76.
Okay, jot them down, man. Put them in. Okay, so we're back with Ryan. Every time I see Ryan, I'm talking about Jack Ryan, but it's confusing because it's a surname and a first name. So it's like, who's Ryan? Ryan, it's Jack Ryan. So Ryan is meeting with his old friend Skip. Skip is played by the aforementioned shamed 80s actor Jeffrey Jones. Skip is building a special mini sub that can dock with any sub. He's not there for that, although keep that in mind, his special sub that can dock with any sub in the world. He's there to show him the pictures of the Red October and get his opinion on the doors, which he points to very quickly. Oh, those doors, he says. He suggests it might be a Caterpillar drive. What is that? It's a magneto-hydrodynamic propulsion, I believe is what he says, which is it's a silent jet engine which can basically drive using water. And it means that it's so silent that the radar can't really pick it up.
When I was 12, I helped my daddy build a bomb shelter in our basement because some fool parked a dozen warheads 90 miles off the coast of Florida. This thing could park a couple of hundred warheads off Washington and New York, and no one would know anything about it until it was all over.
So it's a big deal that they understand a little more about Red October here. So back on Red October, Ramius and crew are now moving the political officer's body. Tim Curry is there, which is quite nice. He's Dr. Petrov. It was nice to see him.
Yeah.
I'm escaping to the one place that hasn't been corrupted by capitalism. Space!
He's not cancelling the mission. He's a bit worried about it. He's like, why aren't we cancelling the mission? The political officer is dead. And he's also worried that the political officer who had one of the missile keys and Ramius had the other, they're now both with Ramius. And so he's not, whatever's going on, he doesn't know what it is, and he's a bit worried, but he's kind of reassured that it's all fine, don't worry about it. They move the body. Nothing to note here. Oh, there's a guy in a chef uniform in the background. I'm sure it doesn't mean anything, even though we froze on him for a second. Let's carry on. So the USS Dallas hears something on sonar. So it's again, we're back with Seaman Jones. They've detected the Red October, so they're not using their special drive yet. So they're just using regular propulsion. They don't know anything about it. So they say, we don't recognize it. It's an unknown submarine. So it's a mysterious submarine. They decide to follow it. Ramius on the Red takes a minute to explain the orders to the crew. But the orders that he is telling them aren't the orders they received. He tells them that they are running missile drills and are to sneak past US and Russians alike using their silent Caterpillar drive. Oh, so what's he doing? I wonder. Interesting. The drive engages and the USS Dallas can't see them on sonar. Also, it can't see them maneuvering. This exposes the Dallas. The Red October sees that the USS Dallas is there, and they realize that because the USS Dallas isn't maneuvering with them, that indeed the drive works and they can't be followed. So they take off. Anything on the technology that is particularly Fallout, do you think? Is there any MacGuffin technology, do we think? This whole it's a MacGuffin, right? The Caterpillar drive. Like it's there for everything else to revolve around it.
I mean, broadly, obviously, there's plenty of MacGuffins in Fallout. So I'd say that's too broad, but
yeah, that's fair.
It definitely, I think, just probably because there's the Cold War element, there's the nuclear submarine element. It feels like it would fit in perfectly, like that kind of. I could imagine a quest.
It's a nuclear MacGuffin.
Yeah. And I could definitely see it fitting within Fallout, and I generally like it within the film as well. Like it's quite a fascinating I guess it's a what if, right? And there's that element of there's a lot of stuff that may have happened, behind the scenes and during the Cold War that we don't know about. Obviously you've got the Cuban Missile Crisis, which is a near Armageddon moment. There may have been others, and these kind of like little under the radar, no pun intended, sort of pursuits and cat and mouse between the US and the USSR. Sorry, USSR, yeah.
I guess it's Russian, Soviet, US. I'm not going to get mad about these interchangeable terms in this.
I don't know. But yeah, that kind of cat and mouse element that's kind of centered around a piece of technology that may have almost caused Armageddon, like those kind of things. It's just intriguing. Like we don't know what, the extent to which certain things may or may not have happened.
So we're now in Russia. Some bigwig, I didn't know who it was. He's walking into his office. He finds a letter from Ramius. And I noted that it was kind of sweet that he was excited. He was like, ooh, he got a letter from Ramius. I thought that was actually kind of sweet. But then he reads the letter, his face turns sour, and he drops his tea. Some bad news for the Russians. So we don't hear what it is. We don't learn about what it is. I think it's meant to be part of the mystery, but I don't think, we'll talk about this later. I don't think it really leans into the mystery. I think we trust Sean Connery in this. I don't think he's doing something bad necessarily here. So Ryan is now back with Greer, and they're attending a briefing with the National Security Advisor. I think it's a guy named Pelt. Pelt, yes, I think so. He shares that Red October launched its silent drive, so the Caterpillar drive, and left behind the Dallas. The National Security Advisor and his generals start panicking and talking, and they're talking and talking. They think that it's an attack on the US. We're then told that after the previously mentioned letter reading, the Soviet launched 58 subs. So it was shared that, the US has learned that Ramius sent a letter to this guy in Russia. He then ran it up the ladder real quick. And then minutes later, the subs started launching. So the idea or the thought here is that Ramius is a madman with a nuclear sub, and he's going to attack. Well, that's what the generals are panicking about or worrying about. Ryan is an analyst, right? So he wrote a biography for the CIA on Ramius. He knows him, and he's thinking it's something else. He's thinking it's something more. He thinks that Ramius is trying to defect to the US. He says he's not Russian, he's Lithuanian. He has no children. He trained most of the officers so he could select the right men. And today is the first anniversary of his wife's death. The generals are all like, you're crazy. He's a madman. National Security Advisor Pelt, though, he seems to like Ryan, and he likes his theory. So he tells him he's going to keep his options open. He says he's not sure whether to trust him or not. And then Ryan tries to sweeten the pitch and tells Pelt that, if we get the sub, we might be able to learn something from it as well, if they defect, that is. So he kind of likes this. He says, I need to try and find a way to communicate with Ramius. Pelt tells Ryan he's got 3 days to prove his theory before they hunt down and destroy Ramius and Red October together. What's your thoughts on hot-aired, trigger-happy politicians or generals and Fallout? Does that fit in?
I think so. I think not so. I wasn't thinking specifically the trigger happy element of it, but
at least the hubbub and
this kind of pre-war political setting. Obviously in maybe a situation room or whatever it is. obviously it's very broad in a sense, but I think the whole film fits within like this could have easily happened in pre-war Fallout, like their pre-war. But yeah, like there's a lot of locations that you explore during post-war in the wasteland that show the kind of remnants of where a lot of these kind of conversations will have taken place. So I sort of had aesthetically the sort of various pre-war locations, inclusive of where the Russian politician reads a letter to where these American generals are having this conversation with the map, etc. Like all of a series of those aesthetically, I think, look exactly like Fallout. Yeah, I guess from would it be a plot point of view? I guess like the more around like the motivations, the personalities of the politicians themselves. Like you're saying, would you say that's like a separate thing?
Maybe. But let me try and put it this way. There's different groups, and some of them are militant, right? Or a lot of them are militant, should I say, in Fallout. Are any of them preemptive strike? Is there ever a plot of we need to strike first?
I'm pretty sure that is the case within the games. I'm sure that pops up. But it's kind of hard now to view these things without the context of the TV show as well. And I don't know to what extent. Obviously, we very much focus this on the games being the kind of main canon, but it's definitely and we deliberately wanted to like err on the side of not talking about the show too much.
Sure,
but it's definitely an element that is emphasized within the show, right? Is a lot of the kind of motivations behind the suits and the politicians prior to the war, and how that impacts things. So I'm definitely it's been colored from there.
Yeah,
and I know that theme pops up in more general senses, like whether it's with the Enclave.
I think in that context,
Mr. House.
In that context, though, I guess these generals are less political. I think these generals are more everything is a nail to our hammer, right? It's I'm a military guy and there's a problem in front of me. I should probably blow it up.
Yeah.
I think is more their motivation rather than how can we move this to our advantage. It's more, I see a problem.
Yeah.
Very, very relevant in the year of our recording of our Lord 2026 or whatever you want to say hey, I can, I think even freaking JD Vance said it. You can't murder your way out of a problem or whatever he said.
Yeah.
Or we can't murder your way out of everything. It's just like, yeah, some can though.
Yeah. I think in that sense, it's more not pun not intended. It's more general in the sense of, it's just like you said, hammer to a nail, or nails to a hammer. I was kind of thinking Sean Connery's Ramius, at this point in the film, at least, is giving more of a Fallout type leader because you don't quite know his motivations, and I think that's another point, just more generally about the film, I guess, is that I like is there's a film coming out soon, I think, that I think is about Dunkirk. I think it's about Dunkirk. It's something to do with World War II, and where there's a character who's having to communicate the importance of the weather to a bunch of these sort of general type people who want to go and do this military action, and he's trying to convince them to, like, I guess, do it on a specific day or whatever it is because of the weather. And that's kind of like the central conceit of the film, it seems like. And it reminds me of Jack Ryan's kind of point here, where it's like it's quite intriguing that what they do next is dictated by the psychology of this one man who's now in control. And yeah, like suddenly, you know, in other instances when you've got like a serial killer on the loose, and then you've got some FBI profiler who comes in and profiles the personality type, it feels a little less, kind of less relevant. It's a little bit of a needle in a haystack thing that you're looking for there. Whereas here it feels like his interpretation of Ramius's psychology is very critical to what they end up actually doing next out of events, because that will massively influence what it is that Ramius will end up doing. So I think in that general sense, it was good from a film point of view, but I think also it was his character at this point, which was kind of making me think of a Fallout character, more in line with what you're talking about, where, trigger happy politicians type thing. What did you think of his character at that point?
I think he's just so Sean Connery that my concern is with the movie that they're trying to be like, he's killed a guy. Is he wild? Is he crazy? We see the letter. We don't see the contents of the letter. And then we have people saying that he's probably mad. And then we have Alec Baldwin with Jack Ryan. Are we supposed to doubt Jack Ryan at any point? I don't think so. So I was never particularly I would have liked if there was somehow a way for there to be more like me doubting Sean Connery.
Yeah.
I think
there is definitely that element for sure.
But you're right. He's also in a way he's a mythical character.
Yeah.
In like he is you want to get to the leader of the Legion, right? You want to see Kaiser, whatever you want to call him.
That's right? It. I think that's exactly it. I think that's the vibe that I'm getting, and I feel like I want to put it down. I can't reference to like a specific character, but you're right. Like it's a Kaiser. It's like these faction leaders who are off there. They've got a mythos about them, and people have perceptions about them, and
they're not the first person you meet. When you meet the faction, you meet a bunch of people before you meet the leader.
Yeah.
And it's event, and you learn about them, and you tell them about it. And they have that a bit, I think, even in like Fallout, like in like Fallout 76, where there's like the raiders in the sunken at the crater or whatever. Like you have to get towards meeting. Is it Meg? Whoever? I don't remember the very generic name. Like the leader is there. That type of thing of like you eventually get to meet them and you learn about them. And I think it's useful that you have that with that. It's useful that you have that, and that is being built with Jack Ryan. But there's not enough ambiguity, I think, when we see Ramius, because I think that's partly the casting. But I think also Jack Ryan's the hero. He's not going to look a bloody tit, is he? He's not going to be like, you're completely wrong, right? Like you want him to be right. You expect him to be right.
Yeah.
And so everything that happens with Ramius it's framed through, I believe, Jack Ryan.
Yeah. So I'll put it down because I think we can obviously finalize it later. But I think I think the casting element. I definitely agree with that. I think the text of the film, though, if you just look at that, I think it fits.
So we're now with Tupolev on his sub. Tupolev is, I think, the name of the sub, so I'm just going to refer to Tupolev. And also, I may change the pronunciation of his name because I wrote it differently different times. So I'm calling him Tupolev. He's a young Stellan Skarsgård. He's got his orders 7 hours late, and he's really mad about it. He tells the crew to get to 105% on their reactors so they can catch up. This is against recommendations of the engineers. He says to do it anyway. His orders are to kill Ramius, and he basically is Ramius's old former student, and he has something to prove. So he's going to be putting his crew at risk just to prove a point with his obsession here. So that's just an early seeding of he's going to 105% against recommendations. I'm sure it won't return later.
I was going to say that it leads to one of my favorite lines in the film.
I didn't make a note of it, but I know exactly which line you're saying. It's fantastic. It's such a spite line. It's
such a Sean Connery line as well.
Yeah. Okay. So back to Red October. We're in is it the mess? The offices where the officers are eating their food.
Yeah.
They make some excuses to get rid of Tim Curry. They're like, "Can you go and just double check those numbers?" And he's like, "Now?" And they're like, "Yeah, if you wouldn't mind." So he goes. They lock the door. The remaining officers are in on Ramius's plan. So they're a little bit nervous that they killed political officer Putin, not for the murder, but for the fact that they're worried that the crew will learn the truth and then they might mutiny, or that they'll be hunted and killed and so on before they make it to the US. So Ramius is more worried about the Americans and how they might react. He just wants to make sure that whoever they try to communicate with, that it's the right guy. Cut to Jack Ryan. He's on a very bouncy plane flying to the USS Enterprise. I've got in notes here. No, not that one. The Star Trek one. So they're near Nova Scotia. So that's, I think, where the movie ends effectively as well. Ryan is dressed in a naval uniform because he's trying to keep it low profile. So nobody knows it's a CIA guy on board. We're now back on the USS Dallas, where Jones has been listening back to that tape of the sonar. So we're listening to where Red October went silent. The computer thinks it's like a magma displacement sound, but he's listening to. He's like, what is that noise?
I washed it through the computer a few times, and I was able to isolate this sound. When I asked the computer to identify it, what I got was magma displacement.
I'm not following you, Jonesy.
Sir, I'm sorry. Listen to it at 10 times speed. Now that's got to be man-made, Captain.
This stuff always intrigues me anyway, because it's I feel like I could almost watch a film of this guy trying to find that needle in a haystack kind of thing. It's when you hear about like astrophysicists and stuff, like making discernments about a sun and like the planets around it based on like a little blip on like an image, or by like some kind of redshift thing. Like I find that fascinating, is that smart people can make inferences of reality based on just these tiny little inputs. Is kind of intriguing.
So the whole thing sounds man-made. So he thinks it's a bit suspicious, but he's figured out that it might be their silent drive, and it might be Red October. So now he knows what he's listening for, and he also makes a good guess as to, based on the sounds and movements, where they're headed. He predicts where they think they're going, and now he thinks, I can track them if we get close because I know what to listen for. So Ryan is then selling the defection idea to some naval bigwigs on the Enterprise. They don't think he's right, but they kind of don't care. Somebody told them, you're working with Ryan, so they're working with him. We also get a little bit of backstory about Ryan. He is an analyst for the CIA, but he was training for Marines or something, and then he survived a helicopter crash or something like that. So he's half Marine, half CIA analyst, all action, whatever.
Which was kind of interesting for me, because I in my head, Jack Ryan was like some all action. Because I realized I hadn't actually watched really any Jack Ryan stuff. I don't think I've not seen any of either of the Harrison Ford ones.
He becomes president. LJ, that's what happens to him. It's still in an action movie. I think Sean Bean. Sean Bean with an Irish accent tries to kill him.
Wait, is an actual Jack Ryan becomes president, or are you talking about?
I swear he does. I think
I thought you were making reference to Captain America: Brave New World.
No,
Harrison Ford as president.
I swear, I'm remembering watching these movies as a kid, and I'm like, he's either the president or close to the president. And he's also maybe being hunted by the IRA. I'm not sure, but it's that's what I'm trying to remember here. But,
I feel like I'm going to end up going down a rabbit hole, because I've just I'm coming towards the end of a massive sort of James Bond rewatch, and now I've realised I've watched the first film in the Jack Ryan filmography, so I'm going to have to
So we're back on Red October, and we see that they're on the exact route that Jones suggested earlier. I think they're going into whatever an underwater canyon is called to avoid being found. Did it have a name? Is that a chasm? I don't know. Ramius pushes the sub too hard, and they have to suddenly run on regular propulsion rather than the caterpillar drive. I'm not sure if it was a ruse or not, if this was part of a later plot or if this was early signs of sabotage, but they could in theory be heard by Americans now. So I don't know if that was a ruse or something, or if that was part of, or an accidental part of the plan.
Yeah, I thought it was accidental, but it wasn't super clear.
Gotcha. Okay, so we now see the Russian ambassador, or a Russian guy, with the security guy Pelt. They're talking. The ambassador tries feeding Pelt the line that all this activity, these 58 subs, and that special Red October one, Well, it's actually a rescue mission. See, the Red October had some diplomats and somebody's child that was very important. So they're all just trying to rescue them. And Pelt gives him he knows it's BS, so he gives him a disingenuous, "Oh, great, well, how can we help you?" That kind of thing. And he's just like, no, we're fine. We don't need your help. It's fine. So I think that's the kind of line at the moment. They know that the Russians aren't telling them something. And so they're allowing Jack Ryan to continue with his pursuit and his theory. We're now on the October. They've been found by a US plane, I think, because they're running on their propulsion, or a plane somewhere. They're dropping torpedoes from a plane into the water. It's battle stations and countermeasures. They managed to avoid it or evade it or whatever. But Tim Curry is watching, and he sees the pressure everybody's on, and he starts to suspect that this might not be an exercise as he said it was. But Borodin kind of reassures him and the crew and says, "Look, if they were really firing at us, we'd be dead." So I not enough tension. I would like a bit more attention and to revisit the paranoia of the crew. But that's basically it. We don't get anything else from the crew specifically of their paranoia at all. So I was kind of disappointed in that in a way. But the officer, when they were with the officers earlier, there's a guy in a red jumpsuit. So I'm just calling him engine officer or engineering officer. He tells Ramius and Borodin that the reactor was sabotaged, which limits the use of the Caterpillar drive. So Ramius suspects that a member of the crew was working with the political officer before he was killed. They need to sniff out the saboteur. Is there any subterfuge in Fallout and spies? Like any double crossing like that? There's one in the Rust Raider Kingdom in 76. I can't remember the guy's name, but there's the Rust King. And you're working with a guy who's like, "Hey, we got to fight and survive the Rust King." And it turns out he was a former raider and he's just trying to get back in with the Rust King or something. But I feel like it's not a strong one.
Yeah, I don't think double crossing in the same way. Obviously, there's double crossing in the sense of there are quests where you might have, a choice to go between one person and another, and arguably you can be the double crosser in some instances, and certain characters feel betrayed.
Are there ever, because it's so faction heavy, are there ever people in a faction that it turns out, I'm actually part of another faction? Is that ever a thing?
I'm sure it's happened, but nothing distinctive that pops up. Yeah,
it's not main mission.
No, definitely not.
It's not main quest, if it is. Okay, so we're back with Ryan, who's kind of talking to himself and trying to figure out how Ramius will be trying to get his crew off the sub. Again, this is all theory, and it's also Ramius is counting on the US to count on him and figure him out somehow. Meanwhile, the naval guys are showing us that there's a lot of US and Soviet subs lining up on their maps. So, and they kind of say this might be a big battle because there's a lot of subs, and Red October is heading towards all of these US and Soviet submarines. Ryan spots on the map, though, a random US sub. What's that one? Oh, it's the USS Dallas. Ryan figures that the Dallas, based on where it is and what it's doing, it's tracking Red October, and he says he wants to get on board to talk to them. Back on Red October, Borodin is talking with Ramius and tells Ramius that when they defect, he wants to live in Montana, marry a round American woman, raise rabbits, and have a recreational vehicle to drive state to state. He asks, do they let you do that without papers? I think he asked, which is quite fun. Ramius then also tells us that he wants to fish again like when he was a child. He says that he's been at sea 40 years. It's a war with no battles, no monuments, only casualties. He says his wife died while he was at sea. We also get an update on the ticking clock. They now have 48 hours until the October is going to be hunted and destroyed. What's your thoughts? This is the closest we got to Cold War, like in terms of front line, so to speak. We got the idea of the American dream, a round American woman raising rabbits, recreational vehicle. So we kind of we're getting close to the picket fence ideal of of like Fallout 4 and like the people living in Sanctuary and stuff. Like that's kind of close to that, I think, that idea.
Yeah.
And then I've got a note as well of the speech from, well, not even speech, just the lines from Ramius about it's as close as we've got to a real Cold War never changes. And that it's 40 years at sea, war with no battles, no monuments, only casualties. It's kind of the war never changes, right? But it's the Cold War version, which is people are dying, but everything else remains the same of just paranoia and politicking.
Yeah, I definitely had the war element. So in genre, I had down brink of nuclear war as a plot point. I think that's definitely in there. Yeah, it's a good point about the sort of American dream kind of description that
Borodin.
Yeah.
Neil.
Yeah, I'll note it down. I don't know if it's strong enough in terms of like, because we don't see it.
No.
But you could, could definitely argue it. So what would that be, like an environment? No.
It's kind of lore, isn't it? Where does lore? Is that genre? No.
Yeah.
Maybe?
Yeah, maybe genre. We'll put it on
there. So Ryan is he's on the chopper to the USS Dallas. There's some drama about him getting on, but he gets on board, no problem. Well, a little bit of a problem. Then we're back with the Soviet ambassador and Pelt. The ambassador is now telling Pelt and the US that actually, we weren't honest. Ramius actually sent a letter to us, and he says he's going to launch on the US. Yeah, he's a madman. So we need the US's help to destroy Red October, if you don't mind. Are we supposed? Because again, we haven't seen the letter. We've just seen reactions to it. Are we supposed to believe this is a possibility of a reality?
I think going into it fresh, I was intrigued by that. I had that as like a suspension of disbelief, at least around the Sean Connery thing.
Because we knew they were lying before, saying it's a rescue mission, don't worry about it. And then he's coming like desperate. So we're supposed to believe maybe it's the truth he's telling and he's desperate now? I don't know.
Yeah, I definitely had it as a bit of a black box of like, it could be anything. I think you're right that even subconsciously I was kind of thinking Sean Connery was legit. Yeah.
So Ryan is now talking to the commander of the Dallas. It's a guy named Mancuso. He's telling him about the defection theory, but Ramius informs Ryan of the recent development and that Ramius is suspected of being a renegade who wants to start a war. So it's battle stations on the Dallas as they return to chasing October. They find that Mancuso is set on attacking, but Ryan convinces him that he really knows Ramius by predicting his next move. Or is he going to go left or right or whatever? And he kind of convinces him. So they stand down for a minute because they believe, wow, this guy really knows Ramius. Ramius surfaces enough for the periscope to be seen, and Ryan sends a Morse code from their periscope, like a blink, 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 blink. So only Ramius can see it with his periscope. We don't get the full extent of the messages, right? But we know that there's a plan between them. And it's been agreed upon, and they're heading to the Laurentian Abyssal, whatever that is, or Laurentian Abyssal. We get a knowing look from one of the engineering officer again at this time. We get a knowing look from him about something. We're not sure. I guess the mission is a go. Periscope. First time we see the periscope. The kid who's in Fallout 4 thinks it's a monster.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
That guy. So it's now that they're en route to the Abyssal, whatever it is. So we just got 20 hours later is on the screen. And suddenly the reactor on Red October is having issues. I wonder if it's got anything to do with the engineer smiling earlier. There's a radiation leak. Tim Curry is there and saying that, look, we've been sabotaged. We need to get the crew off ASAP because of radiation and contamination. Ramius smiles and agrees. A US frigate coincidentally shows up at this time, and messages them, tells them, if you try to submerge, we will destroy you. Ramius tells Tim Curry to take... It's funny, I'm calling everyone else by their character names, but I always call Tim Curry Tim Curry. But he tells Tim Curry and crew to get on lifeboats and get rescued. And meanwhile, Ramius and the other officers, we're going to scuttle the ship because that's the right thing to do for the USSR. So they're expecting that the crew will get saved, and then the officers and Ramius are going to go down with the ship, so to speak. So Curry and the crew get on the lifeboats. Ramius submerges. The US drops a torpedo. It gets closer. It gets closer. It gets closer to the October, or Red October. And then the torpedo self-destructs. Hey, it's Greer. Greer's there, and he destroyed it. They're trying to make everyone believe that Red October has been destroyed already. That was the point of dropping that. I don't believe Ramius and crew knew that was going to happen, but it was just a little extra to convince the people on the lifeboats there is no more Red October. It's been destroyed. So Ryan, Jonesy, and Mancuso were on the Dallas, but now they're on that magic mini universal docking ship from the Pedo earlier. They are going down to board Red October. It's a bit awkward. They're speaking Russian. They switch to English. They're smoking in the submarine, which I thought was insane. And then they start chatting, but then suddenly a torpedo flies by. It's Tupolev. That's right, Ramius' former student. He's caught up. Ramius impresses Mancuso with some renegade maneuvering. And then suddenly there's gunfire in Red October. Bang, 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 bang. It's that chef from earlier. He's armed, and he didn't leave the ship with everyone else. Everybody ducks, but Borodin is shot and killed. No round American women for him. The chef then runs to the missiles because they believe he's not going to launch one, but he's going to explode it in the tunnel or whatever it is still, and blow the whole ship up, including himself, because he's such a USSR buy-in guy. That's communism. That's the power. It's like a cult. So they chase after him. Ryan and Ramius chase after him. Ramius gets shot in the shoulder. Ryan then tries to sneak around and get round to him. Tupolev, meanwhile, is chasing and closing in. He's obsessed, and he knows he's too close when he fires a torpedo, and it could blow up the Red October and his submarine as well. Again, he's a loose cannon. He's obsessed. He's dangerous. However, during this, when he shoots it, the USS Dallas, I think, steps in. A lot happens here. And when you're looking at a submarine and then another submarine, they're kind of the same. But I think the USS Dallas steps in and tracks the torpedo away, so it's chasing them. They then surface, so then it kind of disappears and can't chase them anymore. So it's bought them some time. Then it goes and tracks back on to Red October. Let me see. Now it's Ryan finds the chef and kills him. Mancuso is now showing his maneuvering renegade skills as he takes the torpedo that is following him. He does a 180, and then he dodges, and then it hits Tupolev and his submarine, where it hits him and blows the Russians up. The Red October is safe. The line you were talking about earlier, is it the line that was said here that you said you liked?
I don't remember where it was said, actually. It was in the, in the kind of final,
Tupolev. The Tupolev. What I'm thinking of, as I haven't written it down, but basically as the torpedo is coming back towards Tupolev and his crew, Tupolev is like, oh, Christ. And one of his crew turns to him, and they've got like 3 seconds to live, and he says words to the effect of,
"Get ahead! You arrogant ass! You've killed us!"
I just liked that he dug in at the last second to be like, "You prick." You know what I mean? I'm trying to remember. I assume that was what you were talking about.
No,
when it comes to his obsession and Tupolev. I was like, is that what you were talking about? But yeah, that was a favorite moment for me, because he was just he was just like, "You jerk." Like, he used his last breath to just be like, "This is what I think of you." I
don't remember exactly. It was very minor, subtle thing, but it's a line that Sean Connery says where one of the other characters talks about, I think it's the speed that they're going at, but now like there's the reference to the reactor earlier going 105%. He says something like, his minion says something along the lines of, we're going at 110%, and then Sean Connery goes, well, do 120% then.
Right.
And it's just that thing of like, yeah, like if you're going over 100% already, yeah, give me more,
right.
or more than 100%. Like,
why not? I suppose you broke a threshold of reality, I guess. So Red October surfaces on the US-Canadian coast, I think near Nova Scotia. Ramis and Ryan are chatting on top of the submarine with maybe some of the worst green screen in the world ever committed to film. We get a Christopher Columbus quote, and then I think Ryan says, "Welcome to the new world." He then flies home, and this time he's not nervous on the flight. He's knackered and he sleeps. They wrapped it up. What a great movie.
Yeah, the some of the sort of effects towards the end of the film were a little bit jarring because the rest of the film looks so grounded and real. Then they kind of jump to that when they're doing these bigger effects. It looked a little bit janky and bad green screen, etc.
Shall we take a look at the great score, what we've got?
Let's do it. So, not a lot. I've got some noted down that I sort of didn't mention as we were going. So, all right, let's go through our great scores. So, we've got under genre, mention of the nuclear incident on the sub. Now, we'll come back to this, but this is an early mention. I guess it's kind of taken as a given, later that we're dealing with nuclear submarines, etc., and so maybe it folds into that. But there was a reference specifically to there being like a nuclear incident on a sub, like a meltdown or something like that. So we had that. We had the communist threat, brink of nuclear war. I think those two I'm pretty solid on. Like, I think that those are very strong sort of Fallout plot points.
Yeah, but it sounds silly. Pre-war Fallout was on the brink of war, I guess. So, and I think we've got precedent. I think with the Phantom. I think when we're watching the Phantom, and that it's all set in the maybe it is real, either pre-World War I or pre-World War II, but everything in the world is like, we are now susceptible to chaos. And I think it's kind of the same here. Like, this could be chaos.
Yes, exactly. And we've got the American Dream reference. Do we think that's strong enough? I think just because it's not shown, I don't think that necessarily negates it. Like, it's a very
we also
motivating factor.
I think we also see Jack Ryan and his wife and child, and he's chatting with the kid. And when he's flying home, he's sleeping, and next to him there's a giant teddy bear that he's taking home.
What's the word for it? Is it like sort of I guess it is the American dream, or like it's that suburbia
it's wholesome. It's the idea of it's a wholesome family life. It's a family first American dream. If I was being extra cynical, I'd be like white, white heteronormative family, kind of thing.
So American Dream / Suburbia reference, and that's both in terms of the Jack Ryan depiction and it's there as a notion in the film that is referenced.
You saw Jack Ryan's life and thought nothing of it, and then you see these guys on the ship being like, "Am I allowed to do that?" And I think that's a reference to what Jack Ryan has, right? So I think so. Like, they just want to go fishing. It's kind of, so something as simple as that. So I think it's in there.
Okay, so I guess within genre that would give us 4 points. 4? The nuclear incident on the sub. What do you think? Does that fold into brink of nuclear war?
Well, it's nuclear incident on the sub. It is. Well, it's later revealed in the plot to be what gets the crew off the ship. Right? There's a radiation leak. You guys should get off.
Yeah.
I would throw it in with radiation leak, and I don't know if it's genre. I'm going to throw it into. I would throw it into random specifics, in that radiation leaks and radiation in the environment is a gameplay mechanism.
Yeah.
So I'd say we'd throw it into, random specifics. You're right. It is noted there, but it's part of the plot, but it's more. It's minor, right? It's there.
Okay, so then on to random specifics. We've got the "I am become death" quote, which, like I said, references Fallout 3 biblical quotes in the opening, and then the Fallout 76 quote, Fallout 76 quest. I'd say that's pretty direct. And then we've got the periscope. So I guess that this was, while we don't have a huge number of Fallout references throughout, there is. I think we've probably got to talk a little bit about nuclear submarines in Fallout in general. So what this is in reference to, we mentioned the periscope. So in Fallout 4, there's a kid that you encounter who is seeing something weird out at sea, basically, and the inference is that there's some kind of monsters out at sea. You go to explore it, and I believe that's the one that turns out to be the Yangtze. I think it's that one.
It's Captain Zhao. It's here there be monsters is the quote.
Yes,
investigate the Yangtze submarine. Talk to Captain Zhao. Yeah. So
yeah, I guess we'll say that the periscope. There's a couple of things, I guess. So the periscope specifically is a reference to that moment, right? Like the kind of triggering of that quest. There's a kid who sees the periscope. More generally, but specifically, there's the various submarines that we get in Fallout. So there's the Yangtze 31, which is in Fallout 4. You've got the Shi Huang Ti in Fallout 2. So interestingly, both times it's a Chinese sub. And then there are other submarines that are mentioned in Fallout games. So in Fallout 3, you've got the USS Interference that is mentioned. There is another Chinese submarine patrolling around Point Lookout, which is one of the DLCs in Fallout 3. And within one of the quests in there, you've got submarine self-destruct codes as well. So there's a few, and there's another one. There's in Fallout 4 add-on Far Harbor. You've got the USS Democracy, which exists as a location. So there's quite a lot of submarines dotted throughout Fallout, albeit they're not super prominent. I'd say they're kind of like tertiary side questy. I feel like that needs to count for something. I guess like maybe that would fall under environment of like nuclear submarine, like specific nuclear submarines, separate to the periscope thing, which relates to that quest. What do you think?
I mean, I'm in for the kid. I'm in for the mission, the initiation. Are we saying submarine as a? Are we saying submarine as an environment, or are we saying it as a plot mechanism that moves?
No, I'm thinking as a location. Yeah, under environment.
Let's do it. Yeah, you've got as long as you can get on board. It looks like a submarine. You can do it. Yeah. I'm down for it. It's also an environment with a radiation leak. I'm sure at a certain point.
yeah, that's true. So yeah, then we've got
the crew is all turned to ghouls, so there's got to be a radiation leak if it's that. If they're
there. That's true. And then we've got radiation leak on the submarine under random specifics as well. Did you have anything else that wasn't mentioned?
No, nothing else. I don't think for random specifics.
So I had one. I'm the only trouble is I'm finding this is sort of thing maybe a listener could help with, but like there's a map that they reference multiple times within the film. It's kind of like a not holographic, but it's like a lit up map with the various different like coordinates, etc. On them. It's like a physical table. If you know what I'm referring to in the movie.
It's where he says, "What's this over here?" and it's the Dallas.
Yeah, they reference it a few times. They use it a few times. There is definitely as a visual pops up in, I think it's Fallout. It's one of the Fallout New Vegas DLCs. I just can't remember which one. It's like the main hub that you kind of work from in one of the DLCs, and you've got like a physical map that looks very similar to it. I just can't for the life of me work out which one it was, and then actually pull it up as a reference. But that, yeah, I had that one down.
Okay. Look for mission board. Fallout New Vegas.
Here we go. Okay, I got it. It is.
Is this what you're referring to? Is it this guy?
No. No. If
okay.
you go to the Fallout wiki and type in Sync Central Intelligence Unit.
I see. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's in the old.
Is that right?
Old World Blues Fallout New Vegas DLC. So it's just a visual thing. So I'd say it goes in aesthetic, rather than random. Which is what I had it initially.
Looking on the Fallout fandom, it's got a race, computer, gender, male programming. Oh, interesting. Role, merchant, location, the Sync. You know, this is actually looking more and more like I understand what you're talking about now. The more I look at it, yeah, I think that's just an aesthetic.
Yeah,
that's an aesthetic part. I think,
an aesthetic. Yeah. Okay. So under random specifics, we've got 3.
3
there, so not a lot. And then under environment, we've got the nuclear submarine, the USS Dallas. Like we've listed, there's a bunch of nuclear submarines in Fallout. I had the underground, and finished writing it here, but the underground presidential sort of White House location. So this reminded me of there's a few different ones. There's ones in like Fallout 3 where you've got underneath, I think, one of the libraries or museums, there's a quest that you go on to find I think it's like the Declaration of Independence or something like that, or the Constitution. And you come across like a location where there's a bunch of American presidents that are inside, what are the robots called?
Like a Protectron?
Heads. Protectron, yes. There's a bunch of
Is this in Jamaica Plains? What's it called? Jamaica Plains? Jamaica? Is that the one? It's under there, and it's like it's got a
in Fallout 3.
Like, oh no, I'm thinking of Fallout 4. No, I'm thinking of whatever it is. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just, like, it's under like a one of the like museums or libraries. And you have this whole like underground presidential suite, which you kind of have here when they're meeting, and they go into like what is equivalent of a situation room basically. So I had that, and then there was also a scene that we didn't really talk about very much. There's like a plane that crashes on, and I didn't really realize up until that point that they're on an aircraft carrier, Jack Ryan. It's sort of around the middle.
The
of the
word
film.
is frigate, I believe.
Well, yes, that's it.
Actually, I just used to laugh as a child because it had frig in it.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Anyway.
But yeah, they're on an aircraft carrier like Rivet City, or frigate.
I guess, yeah. It's loose, but we're allowing it for environment. It's an environment. I'd give it. Yeah. But then, hang on. We don't see much of it. We only see do we see enough?
You don't see it very much. It's literally, but you're on it, but you just don't realize you're on it. It's a weird kind of thing where they don't actually have like an establishing shot that shows you where you are. There's actually a model of it as well behind Jack Ryan when he goes to see. It's I think when he first goes to see someone official. Behind them, there's the. Or was it when Sean Connery's character's meet? Anyway, someone is meeting with someone else, and there's a model of one of those Rivet City type ships, and then you realize, they're on it. So I think the fact that they're on a location that is literally, it's exactly this like the sort of ship that they build Rivet City on later on, just because it's pre-war. I don't think makes too much of a difference.
I'll take it. Go and throw it on.
So we've got 3 under environment. now aesthetics. Got black screen with green text, which is a sort of visual motif used throughout. The sound design on the subdeck, you've got things like the sonar, the printer. You've got a lot of sort of mechanical sounds. An array of pre-war Fallout locations, offices, conference, situation rooms. Does that belong more in environment? And would you say there's enough of them for, to your point?
I think this gets... I think where... It is pre-war, and I think pre-war is separate to the rest. Is there enough? So we had the situation room, but that was... It didn't seem like pre-war Fallout, though. That's the thing. None of it seemed like pre-war Fallout. It is pre-war. They do have things like meeting rooms. But when we had... I remember, again, thinking of something like Phantom, it had a very... Even though I think it was set in 1930s maybe or something, it still had a pre-war Fallout aesthetic or a Fallout pre-war aesthetic rather than just a pre-war aesthetic, if that makes sense. So if we're going with aesthetics, it's got to resemble pre-war Fallout.
I think
I didn't really get that myself.
I think a reason why that might be, and I think it's because what you're referring to with like the Phantom and those kind of more stereotypical what we associate with being pre-war Fallout aesthetics is more the out in the real world location. So suburbia or out in the city where people are dressed with like the hats and the women have like particular hairstyles. I think there's that. I think a lot of the more kind of official locations, like a situation room, a president's office, because there it's just like with the president's office, it's literally just the White House, basically the White House aesthetic. The where the Russians are located, those kind of locations, I feel like don't actually have a very distinctive look and feel in Fallout anyway, because they kind of just are what they are. Like they are the real world location of the situation room, of the conference room, of the presidential suite, and so they kind of just look they almost do look the same, but I think so
anything I'll give you anything White House probably hasn't changed between the where you know the pre-war aesthetic that was very 50s
until Donald Trump.
Well,
he's changed the whole thing. That was UFC rings and all sorts.
Yeah, until he started installing UFC rings and probably a new desk, and then probably extra fans for all the fucking farts and shitting himself. Diaper genie in there or whatever. But yeah, I'm going to concede. I will accept it. I think specifically, you've tactically pointed out things that would not have changed in the last 50 years anyway, or 70 years. So you're right. If I think those situation rooms are pretty. Yeah, they're probably unlikely to have changed. I'll give you that.
I've just moved it over to environment. Okay, so back with aesthetics. We've got the sync central.
So aesthetics, we've got the black screen, green text. We've got the sounds, and we've got sync central intelligence, and then you've added pre-war locations to environment.
Yeah. There was. So this was. This is always one that's hard to verify, but I think it's during the scene where you've got that plane that crashes on the aircraft carrier, the frigate. There's the sound of a klaxon, which sounds exactly like. There's a sound of a klaxon that sounds exactly like the when the vault door opens sound.
Okay, I'm looking at our previous ones because klaxon has come up.
It has, yeah.
Have we accepted it in the past?
I think we have, yes.
I think we've got to accept it.
Yeah,
klaxon.
It's during the scene. I've just found it actually just by complete fluke. It's basically it's the scene on the Red October where like I think it's when one of the missiles is hitting, basically, and there's a bunch of around 110 or something in the film.
I know the scene you're talking to, because it's also like it's just incidental. Something's happening outside, and they're panicking, and he's just like, huh? I'll take your word for it if you think it's the same klaxon.
Vertibird, military-style helicopter. Reason why I would say is just distinct from a generic helicopter. Like a Vertibird is specifically a military-type helicopter. Aesthetically, looks more like a military-style helicopter as opposed to a generic one.
We had a Vertibird in Tank Girl, so I'm going to give it to you.
Okay. I think it's the scene when Jack Ryan's being dropped off. I don't think you mentioned this in the plot summary, but there's a reference that I think it's when Jack Ryan and Ramius are talking. I think it's those two that are talking to each other. I think it might be when they meet, when he arrives on the ship and he's smoking the cigarette. He's referred to as having written a book on naval tactics, or rather it's a biography of which the primary sort of content was naval tactics. Is that a skill book? Would that be a skill book in Fallout?
No, it's a biography.
But
he said it's Admiral Halsey, and he goes, nah, Admiral Halsey was an idiot.
But he specifically says it's on military tactics. Naval military.
He does, but it's a biography of Admiral Halsey. So is it a skill book?
Because I don't know if the Fallout skill books aren't.
We don't see the book.
I don't think you have to see the book. I don't think you have to see the book. I think that the content,
knowing that skill books exist in the world.
Yeah, and that it's like because I don't think the Fallout skill books necessarily have to be like, okay, this is a tutorial on naval tactics. Sometimes they are just like it'll be like US congressional speeches or something, and that'll be a speech skill book.
Where would we normally put these books? Because normally I think we'd throw them into aesthetic if we saw a book.
Oh, okay, I got you. Yeah. I think maybe then a random.
Do you know what I mean? Because it's so. Would it be random specific in this instance if it's not? If you're not being
physical? It's not a visual reference. It's like a
like because if we saw comic books, we'd be like, yeah, they're so. We'd put them into we could put them into random specifics or into aesthetics.
That puts random specifics to 4 and aesthetics to 5. And under tribes, I don't really. We had one noted down, which was Ramius as a rogue faction leader that you need to learn about versus their perception in the real world.
Yeah, probably.
Is that strong enough?
No, I don't think it's not. Right. I think part of it is. I think you said text versus literal what you're seeing.
Yeah,
text versus casting is one thing, but I don't see it myself. Yeah. I'm not getting it.
Anything else in factions?
Not in tribes. No. We do have the US and the Soviet, but
I think you could argue
they're not
the
really.
Soviet, potentially.
But could, but it's nation. It's more nation versus nation, and I think when we get Soviets, it's more the remains of the Soviets. Well, we get communists specifically, and I think this is
Chinese
more
communists.
Yeah.
We've got communist threat under genre.
Yeah.
No. I think that's the first we've got a 0 in a category.
Yeah, 0 for tribes, and then the very serious now debuff. So, I think I put it's too placed in the real world, right? It's like I say, like it's not. It puts itself so far from Fallout by saying this is the the communist threat that that ended. I think we have the communist threat, we have the USSR, but it places it. I think it's too placed in the real world of this could have happened.
I guess why is that though a debuff? I don't.
I think because it takes me out of the Fallout likeness and fantasy, because what we have here is it's explicitly there's a circle around where it took place, and it's our reality.
I could almost. I think one of the
there's plenty of things, and there's plenty of things like aesthetics that align with it, and these other things that align with it. But I think it's taken out of Fallout explicitly by putting it, and I think I will fight this, and I will probably fight it in the future if we have any other biographical war movies or anything like that. Of if it's making a point of saying this happened, but it didn't happen, right? Like I feel like it's out. I don't like it. It bothers me. Like there's Fallout, which is this fantasy, this alternative universe, and this is explicitly saying this only ever happened in our universe.
I see. The reason why I disagree is because I think that you could almost make the inverse argument that because it's rooted in real world, that is also what Fallout does. In that Fallout's timeline, it's not like I don't know. It's not like a fantasy setting where it just exists, like say a Skyrim, where it exists in a completely alternate world. It's one where history happens exactly as our history happened up until a certain point, and then there's this diversion that is then it's like pinned in very like real world events, like the Cold War. Like the Cold War is like the non-invention of the microchip. It's almost like you could say Fallout is connected to our real world in very specific ways, and then it diverges.
It is. And the problem we've got is that even with the production and the pre-production, like you mentioned earlier, of them, like the USSR falling.
It's Ricky here in the edit. We kind of go back and forth on this one for like 12 minutes.
But it's just so anti-law.
Then it's just 12 minutes of passag. Yeah, but, and then but.
I get what you mean. I
kind of threatened to filibuster, so we'll just kind of skip to the end here, and I'm not sorry.
All right, I'll have to give it to you because
I'm eating up time.
Yeah, and we're at an impasse. One of us is going to have to concede.
Because I feel like it's going to come up in the future, and I don't want to retroactively have to change scores if we agree in the future. If I make a stronger point,
I don't feel too strongly about it. Like overall, like this isn't. It's weird, right?
Then why are you giving me such a hard time?
because I disagree with the logic. Okay, yeah. I in terms of if we have it as a debuff, it's not like it. I understand it. And it's not a very Fallout movie, at least in terms of like racking up points. But it kind of raises an interesting scenario whereby, okay, so let's touch on the score. So that leaves us at a score of 15, which I believe is our lowest score thus far, or thereabouts.
No, it's one above. It's with Beyond the Planet of the Apes. Both have 15.
Okay,
and it's one above the bottom, which is Urban Warriors with 14.
See, that kind of what surprises me in hindsight with Urban Warriors. So it's on the
Urban Warriors was aesthetic heavy, but we gave it 2 debuffs.
Right, there we go.
We were tough on it.
Yeah, it's on the lower end. I think it's an interesting one though, where it's like there's not like a bunch of little points, but overall, obviously, like real world history aside, it could kind of fit within the pre-war world, right? Like nuclear subs, the political stuff, blah blah blah. Like, but
apart from tribes,
I think the other reason
which is 0.
I think the other reason why I'd kind of like give you the debuff on it is because I was thinking of one myself where I was like, is it too gritty and self-serious? Which it is, which is very anti-Fallout.
There's a couple of jokes. But you're right. It is.
It's very light, very light and few and far between jokes. I'd say it's a very overall self-serious, sincere film, which does, it doesn't really fit with the vibe of Fallout. We have knocked something else off for being self-serious before, I think.
That's true. Is that a John McTiernan thing, do you think? Well, no, because he's done some silly stuff.
Yeah, The Road got a debuff
for
being too serious.
Is this approaching that for being too serious?
I feel like it could be, yeah.
Let's throw it in.
Wow.
Too serious. 2 debuffs. It means it's joint bottom.
There we go.
That'd be 2 debuffs. It'd be 14 points. It's bottom with Urban Warriors.
Wow.
So it's one of the joint, so far, least Fallout movies we've watched.
Yeah. All right. So what did you think of the film from a non-Fallout perspective? And what would you score it?
On say scoring it out of 5 on Letterboxd, I'm going to go 3.5. I really enjoyed it. It was fun. I liked the performances. I liked seeing faces. That was nice fun. I never really bought the conflicts that I think they were trying to sell. I always thought Ramius and Ryan were aligned in their objectives. So yeah, I thought it was pretty good. It wasn't totally successful. Bit of nostalgia. I'm going 3.5. What about yourself?
I'm giving it a 4. I really liked it. I agree with your point around, I think it's the Connery casting that kind of does. Yeah, the intrigue for me didn't come from that. Although in the text of the film, I saw that playing out, like this kind of uncertainty around what his intentions are. But I think that also just the intrigue of them trying to find the submarine and work out and maneuver around how they find motivations and what the next sort of course of action was. So that was super intriguing, and just how everything sort of finely balanced on the psychology of the of Ramius, despite the casting kind of signaling otherwise. So yeah, I really liked it. So yeah, 4 out of 5 for me.
4 out of 5. Let's round up my 3.5 to be a 4, I guess, if we're going to get averages. It's about a 4 average. It's not bad at all.
You kind of touched on one of the mods earlier on. What's another way in which you'd mod this movie into Fallout?
So I think I mentioned earlier it would be having the mini sub that you can just basically fast travel to do submarine missions. So you get one every day or whatever, radial, whatever missions you call them. My other one would have been my backup, which is a very silly one, which is just, you got the chef. I'd call it, so you got fry cook.
Yeah.
I'd call him the spy cook. So you get the spy cook outfit, which is just, +3 intelligence and then advanced sneak. So if you crouch and walk, you're harder to detect. That's basically what I got. Just a very specific outfit. What about yourself?
I do a kind of story-focused mini DLC, I guess, or like a quest line. You find a sub out in the sea, kind of similar to the here be the monsters quest, but instead when you get on, you find like a little mini faction with a crazy leader, so a little bit different from Ramius, but a crazy leader who, depending on how the quest bears out, you've got an option to nuclear strike the wasteland. This pops up in Fallout a few times where you've got like choices that you can make around what you want to nuke. I think in Fallout 4 it pops up, and then in Fallout 3 with Tenpenny Tower. So yeah, it'd be a quest that you can go on, and depending on like your choices, whether you're playing evil or good, you can kind of influence who he ends up nuking, or you want to nuke, or disable the nuke entirely and kind of dissolve the crisis. But yeah, so I'd have a location with a faction and a short quest line that has choice and consequence at the end. Sweet. Okay, so that was how Fallout was the hunt for Red October. Not very, apparently.
Not so much, no.
Yeah, so Ricky, I guess we're actually at the end of season 1, right?
Yeah, do we want to, so finishing our season, take a little break and then we're back. Do we want to announce the movie or should we just let it be a surprise? I'm picking the next one.
I think let's announce the movie, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
The movie I think I would like to watch is 1985's DEF CON 4.
Okay.
The last defense, the last hope, the battle for the future of the world has begun. 2 men and a woman circle the globe in a satellite armed with a nuclear device. The Third World War breaks out, and a few months later, the satellite crashes. They survive the crash. 1 man gets out, killed by survivors, and the other man gets caught. The woman stays by the remains of the satellite, but is soon caught by evil punks who have taken power.
Wow. Okay. I'm intrigued.
So we're getting Third World War, we're getting emerging from something, we're getting evil punks, which I'm guessing are raiders.
Yeah.
Nuclear capabilities. Yeah.
All right, that's a good
jam-packed
Fallout sounding movie to start off season 2 of the podcast. Well,
Fantastic.
that's been The Hunt for Red October. I've been your host, LJ, and I've been here with Ricky. Want to say bye-bye?
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. See ya.
Bye.